Greetings. Welcome from Georgia, Gamar Joba from Tbilisi. Oh, have things gone weird? What can I tell you? Well, I'll probably be repeating the story a couple of times tonight, but let me start with the original version. You know, the other day we left it, we picked up a few extra people contributing in order to get us to we got the $12,000, but I needed to get the money that also was taken away by the GoFundMe and PayPal link, hint, links below. And so thanks to the last people, we have an anonymous person give $100. Thank you. Anonymous is quite generous at times, and they have repeatedly given. Andre gave $100, and he's from Albania. We also had Niels give us some money, and so there you have it. We ended up with $12,500, which pretty much exactly wraps up what I was looking for. Until I called the Alaskan company, Linden Transport, to get the lowdown on how much it would cost to put my container in a barge to go from Haines, Alaska down to Seattle. And that's about 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers. And I had estimated around 2,000. I thought maybe I was being generous, but the more I think about it now, it's like, oops. But I still wouldn't have had no idea what I was going to run into. At most, I thought, okay, maybe another $1,000, $3,000. The whole trip from I went to the Lasare company today and talked to them. I'll get to that in a moment, but their original quote was $6,000 for the trip, plus another 1,000 or so for the expenses on this end. Well, the trip from Haines, Alaska down to Seattle costs more than the trip from Seattle to Georgia. Costs $700 and close to $500, $7,500. And I heard that and I was just like, huh? And I kept asking, could you redo the numbers? Could you figure something out? I called the guy in charge of what they call the intermodal service and logistics down in Seattle, Washington. Nice guy named Ben Owen. And I've been owing money. That's what's happening. It was just like, oh my goodness. You know, it was like my whole world felt rocked. And here's the weird thing. Okay, so I've got, the $12,000. Great. And it doesn't do me any good if I don't get, well, I had figured 2,000, so another, it's going to be, in all likelihood, $6,000 because there's some other stuff I'm not sure what it's going to be. And the reason is because this barge trip from Alaska down to Seattle counts something besides volume. They count weight. And I've got lots of it. I've got at least 12,000 pounds, 6,000 kilos. And I'm looking, I just immediately made a list of all the stuff I'm going to have to jettison to get just the library here. So it's like 3 pieces of furniture. Originally, I was going to say, we'll leave one behind. Now it's 2. It's like I'm just slicing off stuff because I know I did kind of a mental addition of how much it will probably weigh. And it was over 10,000 pounds just for the library. And like I say, I've got some factors in there that are really wild cards. It's like, how do you weigh books without actually weighing books? You can't, there's all sorts of shapes and sizes. I've got a Leonardo da Vinci book that's a coffee table book. And by that, I mean, it's not something that you put on a coffee table. It's something you screw legs into, and it's a coffee table. So anyway, so, what's funny is, the first about hour after I got that, I'm just kind of like dazed, going like, what am I going to do? Because it's like the last thing I want to do is come back here and keep begging for money. I don't want to do that. I want instead to just I want this thing to be done. You understand? This is frustrating. Well, I got in touch with the man who gave us $1,000 last week, and he had some ideas. I got in touch with, sent a few messages out to some other people, and I'll get to the good news in a minute, and I'll tell you where we're standing. But oh my goodness, another $6,000. It's just like my head is reeling. But by the time I went to bed, I was laughing, and I'll tell you why. Because I knew, for some reason, in my mind, I said $2,000, and I had talked to everyone but the Alaskan people, thinking like, yeah, come on. It's 1,000 miles compared to 2 oceans away. It can't be more than the actual price. Oh, how wrong I was. So, but I started laughing because I realized if I had looked that up ahead of time, I wouldn't have done any of this fundraising, because I would have just said, asking people for something like $17,000, $18,000, 19, whatever it'll end up being. I can't do that. You folks have been really good. And what I've done is I've opened this up now to YouTube, although, what is going on here? Is it working? I've opened it up to Facebook. Looks like it's delayed on Facebook for some reason. And I've also put it on my other Georgian Crossroads channel, which, as I thought, isn't getting any views, but I thought let's do it. You folks on the Anadromist are the people who've supported this whole thing. I have gotten a few other drips and drabs from other sources, but most of them had already found the channel. So people from the deep recesses of my past, including people I worked with in New York City at J&R Music World, which was the first 4 years I was there, 1980 through 1984. I quit literally on New Year's Eve, 1984. But anyway, so yeah, but I was laughing because I realized and I felt this before, that the joke wasn't on me, but it was with me. Because like I said, and I feel that from God. That is to say, like I said, if I had known what that cost was, I would have just been kind of depressed for several more years and just said, I'll never get this stuff here. So that's where we are. And so I'm here, and all we're doing is we're collecting $6,000 more. We'll just stop there. I'll feel happy as a hog and slop if I get it. So go to GoFundMe. Go to GoFundMe. Go to PayPal. I don't even remember what I'm doing anymore. My brain is just like. I'll tell you what happened when I went to the Lasari company today, which puts another emphasis. Well, here's the point. I have to get this soon. They have to send up a special container on the barge for me, one that'll go on international waters. There's domestic USA, Canada containers, and then there's stuff that's for what they call intermodal shipping, which means different modalities, different modes of transportation. And that's what I need. I need something that'll go international. So I have to get it done because I need to have my $6,000 before the 2-week period. I'm leaving on March 6th. We're at the 3-week period now. You're going to get really sick of me. So the best way to not get sick of me is to help me get this done as soon as possible. Anything you can do. So here's what someone has done. Someone has given me $500 as a matching grant, meaning I get the $500 if I raise another $500. So right now, I did get a guy named James Johansson. I think I am overloaded with Jameses. I think James is the most popular name among my subscribers. So if you're watching this and you're not a subscriber and your name is James, well, obviously you should be a subscriber, or you can give. And my very good friend, the best pianist I have ever heard, including in concert halls, Eto Etieri, which is like Esther, but Eto is who she is. Sigurishvili got in touch with me. I actually played some of her music on one of, she plays classical piano, played some. I didn't play one of her really great pieces. I played a short, what was it, a Bach piece. But she got in touch and threw in $20, which is good for a Georgian because money is tight here. And so that means we have $45 towards the $6,000. But what that really means is we have $45, and when we get to 500, the $500 will kick in. And we've got another matching grant after that that's even bigger. So it's up to all of you listening to make this happen. I think if we can get these done, I'm just going to be here for a while today. You know, it's 10:15 at night here in Tbilisi, and I don't have a sleep schedule at this moment. I'm just going to keep going until at least I get these 2 matching grants done today. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So let's play another song, and then I will be back. Say hello if you're out there and wish to make your presence known, and contribute if you can. I know you've all given so much, and I really hate to keep asking, but if you can help give a little more, that would be wonderful. And if you can't, tell some other people you know need to do so. Okay, where are we? I see we've got 7 folks watching. Let's do a little bit of music here. Oh, I did start off playing a little bit of Georgian music. Just a reminder, if you give $50, you get 50 rare Georgian music files. I'm still getting them out. There's some of the people missing them. If you give 100, you'll get 100. But we're trying to get a matching grant of $500, which means once we get $500 of our own, suddenly that's worth $1,000. So let's do that now, please. Okay, well, let's play. This is a little, no, I've got all these thoughts, and I think I'm going to follow some of them. What should I play next? Okay, here's some Czech music by the Chorea Bohemica, the Bohemian Chorus, which is a folk group, folk and kind of classical music, but Czech folk music. I'm going to play that. And Andrew, so here's the first few minutes. They're charging me $7,000 for the barge to go, more than 7,500 for the barge to get to, from Haines to Seattle. I had no idea it would be like this astronomical fee. And so I have a couple of matching grants. If you folks want to do the same thing and or match the grant. So right now we have a $500 matching grant. I've got to get there. I've got about a week to do this. So I'm going to be going crazy. Let's play a little Chorea Bohemica. I will be back in approximately 2 minutes and 57 seconds. Okay, just to clarify again what's going on. We had already raised the $12,000 that I thought would cover all the costs, but the barge costs from Alaska to Seattle was far more than I thought it would be. And so it's about $7,500. Basically, I need to raise another $6,000. So we have a matching, someone's put up $500 that we will get if we can match it. So right now we have $45 towards that. And we just got to do what we got to do. Then there's another matching grant behind that. So this is how it's done. Some people say, hey, I'll give you money, but we need the same amount of money. And if you get that, then what happens is you get the pleasure. Plus, if you give more than $50 or up to, I have 4 packets of 50 each of rare Georgian music and music files, and I'll send them to you. So anyone who gives $50 or more will get that. So that's where we are. It was like a shock to the system, but one, I said, I don't have a choice but to finish it. After getting the $12,000, it's like, okay, well, that's really fine. And nothing happens. Someone just suggested, why don't you sell that Leonardo da Vinci book you talked about, which would only bring a couple $100, which is not going to do anything. And here's the point. Here's a thought I had. Why don't I take the books down to the Portland docks and sell them to Powell's Books? Guess what? I still need the $7,500 to do that, which kind of takes away probably whatever they would give me. They'd probably give me more, but not by much. So it's, it's do or die. I've got to do this. So I don't have a choice. And I'm grateful for all of you who are, who have supported this thing this far. It's a crazy endeavor, absolutely insane. When I think about it, it's just like, what was I thinking? Well, what I was thinking, among other things, was that I would be, that I would have money that I would have gotten from finishing my puppet documentary project. And that money didn't, things changed with the institute that was going to help me. They got a new director and I was no longer on the list. Then I got here and the job that I was supposed to do was not quite what I thought it would be and didn't pay anything really. So I ended up getting on retirement, which is great. I get money while I'm here and I can live on that, but that doesn't help me bring this thing here. Meanwhile, I put it in storage in 2017 and in August. And that's when I got everything moved into there. And oh my, oh, actually it was October. When was it? Anyway, I think I first rented it in it was October, but still. So everything's just been sitting there. I did go back and work for one season in 2018. That's when I thought I would be returning to Georgia and I thought I would be flush with money, but evidently not. So here we are. And so, yeah, and if you'd like to help, there are links below, PayPal and GoFundMe. Okay, so then to continue on with the story, and I will come back and explain all of this later because I'm sure I will have people watching for a while and then they'll jump off and other people will replace them. So I went out to the company today, Lasare, and they were very helpful. They couldn't give me a figure because what they have to do is they have to contact the people in Alaska. So I'll have them do that. But the problem is they can't tell me anything until they talk to them. Nothing is certain until I get this money. So, now you could look at it like this. It's like, oh my gosh, Vern, you should just give up. To which the answer is no. I'm just too stupid for that. I'm too hard-headed. And especially having come this far, like I said, if I had known the price ahead of time, in a way, I almost felt like I was kind of blinded from it, like living on some sort of dream, not actually asking. Had I asked, on the day I asked, I absolutely would not have gone through this. So maybe in a weird way, it's a blessing. So it's strange how things work. I felt the same way after I arrived here. When I saw what the job was and such, I remember walking away laughing, and I just felt like this isn't a joke on me. This is a joke with me. I had to walk around and tell people, yeah, I'm going to be helping to build a puppet museum in Georgia. And it just didn't happen. The puppet museum still hasn't shown up, even though I quit there 4 years ago. So here I am on my knees, on my hands, saying, please, if you've been following this strange thing, I am going to make a series of videos following this. I'm calling them the cargo diaries. And so what I'll do is just show the basic process of at least all the way up until I get everything put on the container and have the container taken to the docks. And then you just say goodbye. And then I will resume it several months later when it shows up here. And I'll put that on both channels, Georgian Crossroads and The Anadromist. Different versions probably, but yeah. So anyway, who's out there? Anyone want to say hello? Any well-wishers? Anyone want to say, Bern, we're with you? Yeah, so here I am again because it's really funny. It's causing me to lose sleep, but hey, you know, I always knew this kind of stuff would happen when you start doing something like this. But here's the thing. Let's say I'd gotten to about $6,000 and stopped, and then found this out. I probably would say, well, what am I going to do now? In fact, what I'm thinking of, if I don't get the other 6,000 I need, then what I'll probably do, if that doesn't come through, although I already know the money is there, you know, I already know there's $500 in matching grants, so that means that'll be 1,000, and behind that we have $1,000 matching grant. So I know those are there, and I know we're going to get there. So that's $3,000 right there. That's halfway. So it's just up to you on your side to throw in a little, throw in whatever you feel like, and we will get there. Yes, thank you, Professor Luigi. I am virtually, as if, but not in fact, alone, not alone. Yeah, well, it is weird. One of the things I find during this, yesterday evening, I sent off on Facebook messages to about, I don't know, 40 friends or so, 40, 50 friends, just saying basically, hey, this is like an important thing for me. Is there any way you can help? And I got a few nibbles, people saying maybe we would. It's interesting to me that the people who watch my channels and listen to my ideas and listen to me talk are more present in some ways than the people who just kind of, the Facebook friends and stuff. And I'm coming up with an idea that what happens after a while on a place like Facebook is you become like a digital ghost to people. You end up, you become little likes and hearts, little laughter emojis. You're not as real anymore as you used to be, which makes sense. I mean, for instance, I've got over 1,000, maybe 1,500 friends on Facebook. What do they all mean to me? Well, for one thing, you can subtract about at least 500 right away. And the reason for that is those are people who are Georgians who saw that I was posting pictures of the Arisioni dance troupe, among other things. And they really wanted to just know when there would be more of those. So I've put several albums of music, of images. You should check them out on my Facebook page if you're over there. And I've gotten thousands of likes. I know better than to imagine that any of those likes transmit into anything beyond kind of a vague, like, thanks for putting these up there. And I've gotten at least 500 subscribe. What is the word on Facebook? Followers, friends. Thank you. out of it. So that's really interesting. But it's more interesting to me who does and who doesn't give. It's just fascinating. And sometimes it's people you don't expect. Like, for instance, my friend James Derzick, worked with him at JNR Music World. Um, and then there was another guy who actually, I'm slipping his name at the moment. I'm trying to find his name. Kenneth Franklin, who got in touch with me and and said, "Hey, we're glad to contribute." But he'd already found my channel. James more or less found me on Facebook, but or Jim Derzick. But the interesting thing is they're from like parts of my past I haven't touched in ages. I have almost no friends from that period, the first 4 years in New York when I worked at this mega record store. So I find that really fascinating. No, you don't understand. Randy, I understand what you're saying. I should be willing to sell these books. The whole point of the library is that it's a library. It's not a collection of individual books. That's one thing. The second thing is, in order to sell them, you have to go on something like eBay or join up to some other system. Guess what? I live in a country where the post office doesn't work. Secondly, if I did want to sell like a whole batch of them, I would have to get them to a place, and it would still cost me $7,500 to get them down to Seattle or Portland. So nothing's happening that way, and it's not about sacrificing them. It's about saving them. It's about the physical essence. It's about bringing them to a place where these things don't exist. And it's about essentially, I'm not going to live forever. I'm 68 years old. I'll die. I don't know when. Not tomorrow. I feel pretty good. But will I be here in 10 years? Don't know. So I want them somewhere where they can do someone good. They don't necessarily do good if you just, that's one of the reasons I desperately want to get them out of Alaska. What happens if I just die here and they're left there? Well, then someone will come along and they'll all be dispersed. And that's not why I collected them. So this is very important to me. So now the books aren't working. I am. And so, yes. No, here's the point. I will get the money, and I will be online quite a bit getting it. So this will all end in a week or so. So it's not all the time. It's been a while. Maybe you're tired of me hearing me. I can understand that. I'm tired of doing this. But here's the point. By doing what I've been doing, I've raised over $12,000. So now I've got to raise it up a little more. And that's how it goes. Yeah, Luigi, I wonder if it's because online relationships are realer now. Or I know, you know what it is I think in the past, people you didn't connect with the people you didn't see. I used to write letters to people. And there were a lot of people, for instance, in New York City that when I left, I didn't write to them. I wasn't expecting to write letters. Then one day I got connected to Facebook. Suddenly, all these people as names are back in your life. And sometimes that's nice. And other times it's just like, okay, well, they're there. That's nice to know. So is this what's realer? I don't know. It's hard to say which is more real, which is less real. I am really grateful to have that. One of the reasons I'm doing the YouTube, besides hoping to make a little bit of money, believe me, it is a little. And even this, if you think about it, if you space out this money over the course of a year, it's not all that much money. And in fact, the point is I'm not keeping any of this money. This is all just going to shipping entities. So it isn't money for me. It's just money for the library. But I consider the library a very real thing, and the library will be here after me. In what manner? Don't know. I'll be dead. But I do know there are people who would like to take care of it. So, and I'll find more of those people, and eventually it'll figure it out. I'm not going to make a will until I get the stuff here, because I don't want anything to go on in Alaska. I just can't imagine dying here and having all that stuff just, I don't know, just can't even imagine it. I want a little bit of control over what I pass on. And I think many people here who have been following the channel for a while are really appreciative. They've shown it by what I'm doing. So I'm going to be annoying for a while longer. Such is life. Such is life. You're annoying, and then you, you do what you do. And let's play another song here. We could use a little bit more fundraising. And thanks for being there. So let's see, what should we play? Here's a Cajun song by Doug Kershaw. I saw him play about the time that he's playing here. This recording seems to have been from either late 70s, early 80s. And I saw him play in the early 80s in New York City. Very much a showman. I mean, he wasn't doing like a barnyard hokum with grass hanging out of his mouth. He was like seriously dressed up in kind of country finery, if you know what I mean. But let's hear a little bit of Doug Kershaw for a couple of minutes, 3 minutes and 3 seconds to be exact. And then we'll be back. And if you wish to contribute, feel free. The links are below. PayPal or GoFundMe.
Here's a guy who speaks well for Cajun country, the Louisiana man himself, Mr. Doug Kershaw. That's the place they find romance, where they do the Cajun dance. You see them kiss with every chant, show their love with every glance. Hey, diggy, I love diggy, low. If I want to, we want to know nobody else could ever show so much love for diggy, low.
Doug Kershaw, Diggy Diggy Low. Bit of uptown Cajun music for you there. And meanwhile, if you're just jumping on, just a reminder that I got a sticker shock when I found out how much the barge carrying the container from Haines down to Seattle would be. And that is to say, over $5,000, $6,000, closer, we'll say $6,000 more than I thought it was going to be, which is just like insane. Costs more because they weigh it. See, the other company is just selling it by volume because those huge container ships don't really need to worry about the weight so much. Whereas the barge, they do. And they also they're factoring in everything. So that was a shock. But like I said, so I do have someone with a $500 challenge right now. And so that means if we can raise up to $500 more, or actually we've got 45 right now, thanks to James Johansson and Eto Tsikis Purishvili. Her name is so difficult. Skate Purishvili. That's it. Skate Purishvili. But she is such a great piano player, and I played a little bit of her music the other day. Just the best pianist I ever saw, and I was really glad to get a few dollars from her. So we need. We've got $45. Trying to get that $500 matching grant, which will then immediately put us at $1,000. So. No, Randy. We already got that. That's what I'm working with, but they can't give me their final price until I get this thing settled. So it's just this weird thing. But no, it'll actually cost less to get the container from Seattle to my door than it is going down the coast. Everything in Alaska went really high, and the reason for that is because. Oil prices, inflation. But what's weird is, so when I left 5 years ago, the average, I stayed in a hotel that was about $150 a night. That same hotel is now $259 a night. That tells you something about what's going on in Alaska. So, yeah, just got to do it. So feel free to contribute. Feel free to ask questions. So CW, yes, we will talk about it. I've been wondering if I should send you a note. Just wanted to, I hadn't heard from you, so I was thinking like, he might have gotten stuck by the third master of reality, which is pretty frightening stuff. But I realized that and changed the direction of the fourth master just to make it appear lighter. It isn't really. Who else is out there? Anyone else want to say hello? Do. And if you want to ask a question, this is a great time to do that. I can go on and on. And later I will recount the story of how I discovered the extra price on this. And but like I said, I just have to laugh. I feel like I wouldn't be doing this had I known that ahead of time. So, and now I've got too much money to turn back. So, and I've got a ticket for March 6th to go there, and I need to get this thing under wraps in about a week. So I am here, but I've got two different challenge grants, and the first one's $500. So we need to work on that first. Let's see, any French Cajun music? No, that's all I've got right now set up for us. I got plenty at home. I keep acting like I have a home in Alaska. I have a storage container. In a way, that is my home because it's got all my stuff. It's got all my journals. It's got all my photos. It's got all my art. I have actually made some art in my time. It's got It's got probably about 50 or more CDs of lectures and classes I've given. It's got, more importantly, I did radio shows back in Alaska, and I saved this one series I did on a show that I called The Word as Spoken. So I was mostly just dipping into, I have a huge spoken word collection, and I was mostly just dipping into that and creating a whole show out of it. And this was a history of the 20th century. And there's something like 85 of those. So that's something I will deal with one way or another. That might be something behind a paywall or something when it gets here. So yeah, that's where we are. Any more questions or thoughts? I got plenty of music. I wanted to make sure, because I don't know how long I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on as long as I can, simply because that's what I have to do. There's no exit. Not that I'm going to stay up all night, but I'll probably go later than usual just because I have to. What else is going on? Tell me how you are. Ask questions. The most Georgian instrument is the panduri. You saw it earlier. The girls were playing one. There's two different ones. They look a bit like mandolins or lutes, but they're small. They have only 3 strings and they're tuned in a kind of chromatic way. So that if you just made a bar chord on it, you'd already have a chord. And it's, and then there's a bigger one that's used more for like a bass instrument. It's called the changuri. And if you see more than 2 people playing one, if you notice that one of them is bigger. And I've got another piece coming up here with someone playing the panduri. I would say that's the essential Georgian instrument. Then there's the doli, which is a skin drum, and it's often used in all sorts of ways where guys will flip it around and it gets a nice loud sound, a bit like a tom-tom, but more wooden sounding. Then there's the garmoni, and the garmoni is essentially an accordion, but it is tuned differently. Again, tuned in a more chromatic way so that you can slide around on the chords more easily. So those are 3. Then there's some really odd old folk instruments that people don't play so much. One, and I don't remember the names of them. One is an old looking violin with 1 or 2 strings that has a bowl on the bottom. And then there's another one that's looks a little bit like a dulcimer, but is kind of longer. Then there is a duduk, which is actually an Armenian instrument, and it's a flute that plays with a drone at the same time. But the Georgians use it as well because they're next door to Armenia. Okay, the art back in your container. I suppose you want to know what that is. I went through a period in the 1980s, early 1990s, where I had these books, and I just was constantly drawing faces and trying to really reach for something. And once I got to what I was trying to reach for, which I did, and I stopped basically. Now I also made a few paintings out of it and such. I would say it was a dark time for me, but it was in the process of doing that I learned a lot. And so around that time, I also worked delivering art as an art mover, which is kind of like the high end of the moving world. And what I discovered was I would show people the books that I had. They're all colorful paintings and stuff in these books. And I had one friend who said to me, "Bern, that's not art." And I said, "Yeah, what is it?" He goes like, it's too personal," which I thought, I knew what he meant, because he wasn't saying it wasn't interesting. He was saying that the work being displayed in galleries, you weren't supposed to hit any emotional points. And my work was. So that was really interesting to learn that. And I learned a lot working in the art world during that time. But that was one of the reasons I worked in the art world. And I got around to all sorts of almost every museum, almost every art gallery in the city, met lots of artists and such. The reason that I did that was because I had been working with art, and I wanted to see if what I was doing was anything that someone else would recognize. And now what I realized is that the art world had arrived at a certain point where it was all about who you know, who you knew, and did you follow the proper ideology. This was back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it's only gone on. I remember we were in the postmodern era at that point, but I remember walking into a show and looking up, seeing a stuffed turkey hanging from the wall, and that really grabbed my attention. I said, "Oh, that's really cool." Then I looked around. I said, "Oh, this is an anti-meat show." It was this kind of like art is politics, which have always made me want to gag. I don't care if you feel that eating meat is murder, but I think there's a difference between art and propaganda. And to make your art propaganda to me seems like I don't know. It's just a violation of what art actually means. So there we are. Okay, I've always thought that the "that's not art" argument, such as, yes, I agree. It says a lot more about the person making the argument than it does the art itself. Yeah, I would agree. And Ellis Potter, whom I've had on the channel before, basically says his definition of art is anything people make, essentially, that everything is an art. There's an art to glass blowing or an art to almost everything. I don't know if I go quite that far. I think there are distinctions between types of art, but nevertheless, I do think that I was just like when my friend said that's not really art. I didn't like go, oh my god, they're not making art. I didn't take it like personally. I'd gone to enough galleries to know he was saying art has to be made to essentially display in a gallery. And it was out of working in that period that I started coming up with my ideas about textures, because I'd walk into a gallery and there'd be all these white walls and the same like blonde wood floors, white ceilings. And prior to that, I had been in the artist studios, which are almost all very messy. At least, they're usually darker. The work is being constructed in this place. Then they take it out of this much more human place and stick it in isolation on a white wall. And the more I looked at the more I said, that's a problem. But that's how we are all being essentially told how to live. That we're being told to live. It's amazing. I wondered where this idea came from. People walk into a room and they say, "Oh, I really love this space." And I say to myself, really? What do you like about it? Do you like the white walls? Do you like the empty aura? And some people, I think they genuinely do. Other people, this is like a meme. It's like a disease passed on through osmosis that people think this represents, for instance, so if you have a house totally uncluttered, just a couple of possessions on white walls, certain kinds of plush furniture that doesn't look too much like old furniture, that you have like you have something really nice, and I look at that and I go like, no, you have something really dead. It's sterile. Everything's been abstracted into this pale environment that we're told through organs like Architectural Digest or how we should live. And so I've certainly been asking those questions here more thoroughly, going back into the moments when art changed from its rather over ornate Victorian period to its opposite, which was this anti-textural, anti-curvature, white boxes, So what do we got here? What is not art? Well, for instance, one could argue that everything, for instance, a McDonald's cup is designed. Is that art? And I would say there's an art to the graphics on the outside, but it's tiny. It has almost no meaning. The only way in which I could see a McDonald's cup would have much meaning is if you were desperately thirsty and it was the only means of holding water that you could have, or liquid. Then its meaning quotient would go up quite a bit. But generally, McDonald's cups are so meaningless that people just drop them on the ground and step on them because they don't care about them. Having said that, there's something to be said about trash on the street. It's a sign. It's a sign that says, do we care about anything? And that's a big thing. Why do people make art? The question is, I think the question is less, why do people all through history make art? And more, why we don't. Why people have ceased to make things. I mean, you used to find people making things at home, and I think we have our weapons of mass distraction to be thankful for. If you want to not make art, just watched overly produced films, listen to overly produced music with videos. Everything is done for you, so you don't feel the need to do anything, and you're made to feel like someone is if there's something wrong with someone who sits at home, creating a quilt. There's something wrong with someone who is just sitting around sketching, because you can just ask an AI to make a sketch for you now. And the problem with that is the sketches that the AIs produce, all the things that AI makes, it all looks like the most commercial versions of any imagery. And there is a commercial version. Super neat, super, everything is, it just feels too nice. Whereas the best art always had something really personal that was really hard to quantify. Why do I make art? Well, that's a good question. That assumes I have a choice, which I don't. I have to create things, so whether it's writing or whether it's painting or whether it's creating music collages or whether it's doing any number of things, and along with that goes all the research that goes into everything else. But a lot of that research ends up going into my aesthetic view. I think human beings have to be surrounded by aesthetics. The problem is we're surrounded by a lot of, what's the right word, kind of substitute art, substitute aesthetics. I mean, there's even a thing now on the internet, and it's been around there for about 10 years or more, aesthetics. And they don't mean the visual appreciation of life. They mean, dark academia is a specific aesthetic. Pastel goth is a specific aesthetic. I've been thinking about these more. What's the difference between the subcultures of, say, the 1980s, all these metal and hardcore and ska music and stuff, these lifestyles essentially, and the kind of internet aesthetics where someone goes on Instagram, they follow people who are doing, the dark academia is kind of inspired by Harry Potter, and so they start imitating these things, but they're imitating them without. It's really strange. It's the illusion. They're not actually academics. They're not actually, they might have a library, but they don't seem to understand what a library is for. It's more about display. It's more Instagrammable. And whereas what I've always done, for instance, if you saw the room that I painted here, the first of what will be 3 or 4, you will say to yourself, jeepers, you went through a lot of trouble, because I did. I painted, literally hand painted everything on the walls. And I went through a lot of trouble to give it a certain look. It's a look that I always am involved in. Why is this quilt on the back wall here? Well, I found this here at a, what was it? Some sort of bazaar. And I thought to myself, oh, that's kind of interesting. It was only about 15 lari, which is about $4 or $5. And I bought it. But the whole thing is hand stitched, and even better than just simply the cobbling together of this kind of patchwork design. I love patchworks. Is the fact that there, between it all, you can see this yellow line going through it. And the yellow line is not straight. It is curved. So, and it's uneven. And I love that, because it gives, people come in and they look at that like it's a piece of art on the wall instead of the, what was it, a baby blanket that someone made? I love it. I love it. I love things that make you stop and ask, oh, where am I? I'm in an interesting environment. And I think for me, art is a form of communication. And when someone walks into my world, then they have to ask, what's going on here? And that is what I want them to ask. I want them to say, not who is this person, me, as much as what is this thing I'm looking at? What is this mood that I'm surrounded by? And so I don't recommend people do their houses like I do. I recommend them to do their houses like they do, but to think about it and not to use too much in the way of repeatable stuff for the walls. Like don't just buy posters. It's better if you go to garage sales, yard sales, and find someone's weird little painting. Or if you have a friend who makes art, then buy something from them because they're probably not selling it. And and they would probably be, especially in the beginning, probably be willing to sell something fairly cheaply. And you should support people like that. And you need stuff on your walls that is not repeatable homegrown, that is not repeatable store-bought slick stuff. People need real things on their walls. You'll notice young teenagers, when they put stuff on their walls, tend to jumble them up. They do that on purpose because just to hang a poster is boring, But I take it one step further. In Alaska, I only had one room in which I would allow a certain kind of repeatable commodity image, and that was the bathroom. And I had it full of these things. So when you're in there, you're going like, what is that? That's like a rat poison poster from New York City. Just all sorts of bizarre stuff that for you to look at. But I generally don't want to be in that environment all the time. So the bathroom seems like the best place for it. Let's see. Andrew says it's all about display. Perfectly explains the so-called creative social media. Yeah, it's about display. Many people are putting their creative energies into social media to make it seem like they're living beautiful, creative lives. It is puzzling. Yeah, well, how many people, for instance, they're going around, they're taking pictures of themselves all the time. I'm always amazed by the fact that people have to get, how many people have taken pictures of themselves at I call it the selfie fountain, the Trevi fountain in Rome. It's like everyone goes there and takes a selfie of themselves at this fountain. They have no idea what they're doing. This doesn't mean anything to them. It's just like trying to squeeze your way in and get a picture of yourself with the Mona Lisa. What are you doing? You could just buy a book and get a better reproduction. Do you have to prove that you were there? Is that how, our lives have become entertainment fodder for others, and that shouldn't be. Speaking of things that shouldn't be, I am trying to get some more money here because I got a sucker punch of how much the barge is going to cost from Haines, Alaska to Seattle, more than the rest of the trip. It's going to cost about $7,500. And it is, I was just heartsick when I heard that. But I know there's money out there. I've got people who are willing to throw in more money, but I have to raise it first. So I've got a $500 challenge grant. If anyone wants to use that, please do. I've got to be on here for a while. Some of you may be saying, Bern, we're tired of this. Well, talk to me then. Get something out of this. I'm not exactly thrilled about doing this forever, but I kind of don't have a choice. I have to try to raise the next $6,000 that I need because that's how much I was essentially burned, and I have to do it as soon as possible. So, like I said yesterday, I sent out. What I did was I called up and talked to them, and they just explained to me why it cost so much. I was just like, oh man. And when I first heard it, I was just like, now what? And it is there's a way in which this is kind of frightening. It certainly is. It can, if I let it, it could be very depressing. I could be saying to myself, I'll never get the next 6,000. I've already asked everyone for too much money. And people have been really kind to me and gotten me to that point. But if I don't get it, I just don't have a choice. I just have to keep asking. So like I said, yesterday I wrote to about 40, 50 people on Facebook saying that, like, sorry to bother you, sorry to like come in out of the blue here, and feel free to reconnect, people I haven't talked to for a while. But that is what I have to do. So let's see. I'm going to renew the GoFundMe page, see if anything more came in there. Nope, not yet. I have $45 towards the 500 challenge grant. So if I can get another 400 and what is it, $55, I'll get that money thrown in. And then I've got another grant behind that that's even bigger. So you can help me get there. And it doesn't, if everyone just throws in a few dollars, that's what makes it work. It does, I often get people who respond to me like, I won't even go into this one. A woman, we won't say the location of which, wrote back to me and says, I can't do anything because of Gaza. And then sent me a photo of herself standing on the side of a road somewhere with a sign and nobody behind her. And it's just thinking like, really? So, okay, I can't really say anything, but yeah, I often get people who say, well, good luck, Bern. And sometimes I just want to say, just throw in your coffee money. It's simple. I mean, it just takes a few minutes because it is the little drips and drabs that end up making this work. I mean, I think my lowest amount was $1 someone gave, but he did that for a specific reason. But we'll say $3 was the lowest, and that's fine. Everything helps because here's what it means. It means that the person watching is showing, it's just a sign of support. It's a sign of support with a little increment on it, and that's how I get to where I'm going. So, links below. I'm going to play a piece of music now. I've got some more liquid that I need to get because I'm going to be here for a while. By the way, the liquid that I'm getting is a form of drink very popular in America that doesn't exist here except for one American guy who runs a pizza place has this flavor. What is the flavor? Think about that. Think about using the PayPal or GoFundMe links. And let's, what should we play? Let me play another Georgian piece of music that shows the Panduri. We mentioned that earlier. And we will play that. And let's see if anything's happening at Georgia Crossroads. Not a whole lot. One other person is watching. Hello, though, if you're watching from Georgian Crossroads. Yeah, let's play another Georgian piece. This features the Panduri. I've played this song before, but it's a great song by Leila Nakaori. And she plays a really interesting style of Panduri, rhythmically. So let's play that. We'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to get the rare drink. What is the rare drink that all Americans drink, or at least are really familiar with, that nobody here is familiar with? Think about that. Write it down, your guess. We'll be back in a moment.
მომირე კავდი სტუმრებსა ქალ გოხდა დაგიხდებოდე სიტყვას გეტყოდი ისეცა ვაჟკაც თავს მოგაწონებდე სიტყვას გეტყოდი ისეცა ვაჟკაც თავს მოგაწონებდე ქალო მაგერე რო კოხდაო და ხელს არ მაძლევ ხელშია ვიფთვები ჯეირანივით დაიგრიხები წელშია ვიფთვები ჯეირანივით დაიგრიხები წელშია რადგან ცხვარსავდებ ყოველ დღე ჯოხი მიჭირავს ხელშია რადგან ცხვარსავდებ ყოველ დღე ჯოხი მიჭირავს ხელშია ჩემსავით სველი ნაბადი შეროდის გიტარებია ჩემსავით მწარე დღეები შეროდის გამოგივრია ჩემსავით მწარე დღეები შეროდის გამოგივრია მომეცი ტბილი სალამი წემსი ვარ გამეხარდება გულს ჩახოცილი დარდები ვარდივით ამიყვავდება გულს ჩახოცილი დარდები ვარდივით ამიყვავდება შე რომ იცოდე ჯეილო უნებას შეგისრულებდე დაგიქცევ ტრელსა ჩულებსა ცხენს გოხდათ შაგიგმაზვინდე დაგიჭერ ცხენის უზანგას თანელა ჩაგიცინებდე
That's a great song. I love that. I love her style of playing there. It's very rhythmic and has this very interesting kind of backbeat on it. And Georgians really do have some interesting rhythms. And David was just saying it's that the Georgian music seems to be like a bridge between like Western European styles and Middle Eastern, and I would agree. And they've also had influences from, I mean, so many cultures have been through here. So we've had the ancient Greeks, the Byzantium, the Romans, the Arabs, the Turks, the Mongols, the Persians, the various, you know, we're right next to Armenia, and then of course the Russians. So you can hear bits and pieces of all those cultures in Georgian music. But what is really Georgian is the harmony singing, which we'll play a little bit of down the road here. We've got other music to listen to as well. So, okay. Oh, I see a little red dot saying, "Burn, look at me." So, well. That's 3 holes in the ground. Thank you, Chambers folks, once again for setting the bar high. Well, let's switch. I haven't switched to the camera yet, the other camera. Not because I couldn't, but I wanted to save what we're doing. Guess what? The Lisa and Andrew Chambers just came up with $300 more, which now means we now have $345. If we put in 155 more, we can then kick in the other 500 and then start working on the next challenge grant. So there you are. So, hey, Zank Frappa Woodiesel. Glad to have you. It is drunk lemonade. No, lemonade is actually pretty popular here, but I will show it to you in just a minute. So only $155, and we will be able to add another 500, which will give us 1,000. And you see how this works, folks? Just little drips and drabs, or nice drabs. What's a drab? I know what a drip is, but what's a drab? Does anyone know what a drab is in that sentence? Yeah, a drink. What? I'll show you the drink here. What is it? I've got ice in there, but it's a brown liquid. It's sweet. Coca-Cola obviously exists here, but this is the flavor that Americans love, that people in Europe look at like kind of like, what in the world? I won't tell you what it tastes like to them because that might give it away. So, just a reminder: sticker shock. I need another $6,000 to get my container from Alaska to Seattle, because it's that much money, because they're doing it by weight. And evidently 6,000 pounds or 3,000 kilos was the amount that they have. That's what they were going to charge you for the container no matter what. So you could put in 6,000 pounds of stuff in it. But I know I've got double that. So, and I've been sitting there. One thing I did is I went online and I thought, what's the average cost of one vinyl record? And so I wrote that down in grams. Then I said, what's the average cost of one CD with case? What's the average cost of one DVD? I wrote all these down, and then I added them all up. Then I had to think, the hardest one is, what is the average cost of my books? How much do they weigh? Well, before I answer that, I will say, well, I will just tell you, my estimate was over $10,000, which then made me go, oh my goodness, what if I'm off? You know, and not off in the good way. So, I see another little red dot here that's looking at me. And it's Niels. Niels, you just gave $19, and you decided to give another 15. There is the drip. But what's the drab? Does anyone know what oh, David Walker got it. Root beer. There is one guy, an American, who has a little pizza chain here with about 3 restaurants, and he makes his own root beer. And when you give it to Georgians, they're like, but all the Americans here love it. So, and I'm sure there are Georgians who like it, but so often they just say it tastes like medicine. So, okay, well, let's write up Neil's $15 US worth of stuff, and let's do it. We're cooking with grease. Okay, so that brings us to $360. We're trying to get to 6,000. Once we get to 500, I can kick in another 500, and then I've got a bigger one behind that, challenge grant. So let's do that as soon as we, that's the way this works. Now, I've learned this I worked at KH&S in Haines, Alaska, doing fundraiser marathons there. It would last a week. And you would just go nuts trying to raise money. And so, that's why in some weird thing, I thought, maybe if I just, I thought to myself, I have a New York City phone book back in Alaska, and it's the driest thing that I have. And it's just like, I thought, okay, what I'm going to do is just read names, and you stop me by giving me money. But then I thought, like, that would really get boring, and I would just lose my voice. So, yeah, root beer. They say it tastes like medicine. Yeah, it's a weird thing. And I've given Georgians I have weird tastes for food. So, I like things like absinthe, not much of it, but just enough to give me this shot of weird flavor. Yeah, Georgians are like, whoa. But it's the same with some other weird flavors. They just don't get them. But then again, they've got their flavors. They have this thing called cha-cha, which is basically it's the paint thinner version of vodka. And some of them are kind of flavored, but it's paint thinner flavoring. So it's like when you take a sip of it, it's just like, okay, well, this just goes, yeah, exactly. We all remember going and getting root beer. I mean, that's why this was in the refrigerator, in the freezer, and the glass was getting cold. It got a little too cold because now it's all ice, but that's okay. It'll melt. And so I'm doing 2 things at once here. I've got American style root beer and Georgian white wine made in a village not far from me. There's a guy who brings this stuff, and he charges me $3 lari for this. And $3 lari is about, at this moment, I guess that would be about $1.20. So not bad for a liter of wine. I just dropped no phone books, please. Well, then, yeah, well, that's why I would read it just to stop. There was a great puppet show I saw. Thank you, Niels. I really appreciate it. There was a great puppet show I saw once in the Czech Republic, and it was a Sherlock Holmes show. This is one of my life-changing experiences. Not so much the Sherlock Holmes, it was the Hound of the Baskervilles. So I knew the story, even though they were talking it in Czech. But they took an intermission. One of the things I loved about this puppet show was that they had all this weird stuff with scale. So they had little puppets about this big. And then they had, at one point, Watson says to Holmes, we need to take the train up to the place. So what happens is a little train starts rolling around the puppet theater. And I thought, it was a little wooden box and starts running around it. That was great. But then they said, oh, we need some tea. And suddenly the guys just started pouring, well, it was just water, into cups, splashing them all over. Meanwhile, two of the guys in the puppet troupe were standing in front, sipping tea, wearing Sherlock Holmes hats. I just said, this is just so creative. This is when one of the moments where I said, we have to do this in Alaska, this crazy stuff, because that is what we're doing. And yeah, every country has some weird form of drink. And one of the interesting things about Georgia is all the weird plums. I grew up in California. I've seen plums, and what's weird is there were 5 kinds I've never seen here. And one of them is eaten green, and it's supposed to be super bitter. It's called a lucha, and you're supposed to drink it with wine, and you have these crunchy little, they taste like apples then, but it's super sour. And then they let it get a little bigger. It's still always sour, and it remains green, kind of goes to brown. Then there are other ones that are sour, a couple that are sweet, but they have these weird things. And there's one called Thaljoa, which is, I don't think that's an original Georgian fruit, but it has a flavor I don't know how to describe it, kind of almost like a cinnamon flavored pear but it has the texture of a much harder, woodier pear. And that's a pretty amazing one too. And I could go on. I haven't tried all the fruits and vegetables here because there's so many fruits in particular. Have I told you the story about that the Georgians tell about when God was handing out countries at the beginning of time? All the countries in the world lined up to get their portion of land. But the Georgians weren't there. They were back. They already had their wine, and they were raising toasts, and some of the toasts were to God. But they ran up late, which is a very typical Georgian thing. They ran up late to God and said, "Okay, we're here. Sorry, we're late." And God said, "Sorry, I've given all the land out." And the Georgian says, "But we were toasting in your name." And God says, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." And God says, "Okay, I'll give you the bit of land I was saving for myself." Because really, this land is about the size of Switzerland, has mountains taller than the Alps, and goes down to the sea level, and they can grow oranges there. And they have all the zones in between. There's a huge arid area where they grow grapes everywhere here. Literally, you're walking down the street under grape arbors in the middle of the city. So it's a pretty amazing place. All the stuff that grows here is just incredible. Okay, so just to bring us up to date, then I'll play another piece of music. What do we got here? That's okay. Like I said, Niels, everything helps. It is having you with us. That's what I was trying to express to about people who say, "I'm sorry, I can't help you," and they can. It's like every day they're spending money on this or that. Why not just, what you would spend on a Starbucks coffee? Give that to me, go without Starbucks for a day, which you probably wouldn't anyway, and go on. And people don't get that what it does is, I've got plenty here. I'm just looking up here, it's like 10, 20, 15, 25, 30, $2, $3. It's just like all these different numbers here. And yeah, there are some bigger ones, but I think some people, what it is they almost would feel embarrassed if they didn't give something that feels substantial. But if you do give something substantial, I will send you some Georgian music files, and that's something. $50, 50 files. $100, 100 files. $200, 200 files. You'll have more than enough music because, apart from me, where are you going to find Georgian music? Seriously. So we now need $140, and we'll be at $500 towards our $6,000 goal. And another 500 will kick in immediately after that. So if a couple people throw in a bit of money, we're there, and then we double it. You want to do that? Help me. Links below, PayPal or GoFundMe. They both work. And hey, I had a Georgian give me money today. She gave only $20. She apologized. But I said, you know what? $20 to a Georgian feels more like around $50 to them. And I'm serious. So, what seems like a small thing, it's like what Jesus said about the widow's mite. I just care that someone, to me, it's just as meaningful that someone is basically saying, yeah, I just want to let you know that I care about this. And that means a lot to me. Okay, so what kind of music should I play? I'll let you vote on it. You have Georgian Nuns, you have Fats Domino, or you have a Czech friend of mine who does this very spooky, beautiful, spooky, dark music. So Czech, spooky, dark, beautiful music, Fats Domino, or Georgian Nuns. Vote now. Go ahead and tell me what you want to hear. First, Georgian music is from 8,000. Georgian music. The first Georgian wine is from 8,000 years ago. So it's 6,000 years before Christ. And that's we've found sediment in the bottom of Georgian pottery, which is where they ferment the wine. They have a very different style. They don't do it in oak cast, although truthfully, some of them do it in oak cast now. Okay, what am I going to play? First person who writes something down, I will play that. What are you in the mood for? Fats Domino, beautiful Georgian Nuns, or dark Czech music? First one who writes something, I'll play it. Meanwhile, like I said, $140 to go, and then we'll get another 500 like that. This will go quick. It's much less painful than going to the dentist. Okay, Andrew, spooky dark, you got it. This is actually a friend of mine who doesn't have any albums out, but she does have her own channel. She goes by the name of Silva Moristen. And although that's not her name, I know her real name. It's really Czech sounding. But this is a piece she wrote. Unfortunately, there's no, she didn't do a video with this, but it is extremely beautiful. And one time I visited her in the town of, what was it? Pilsen, where the Pilsner beer originated. And she stopped and said, let me play you this in the train station. There's one of these old beat up pianos chained to just chained there. And she just played this, and it's like, I was just like, this was so haunting. So let's play it. The name of the song is Sem Napev, which I'm not sure of. And it's based on a poem. And this is her, she wrote the music for it and sings the song. Silva Moristen from the Czech Republic. We'll be back.
greš proti meni. Sem jaz tvoj napev, ki prši ven skoz kožo. Sem napev, ki ga poješ, ko zgovarjaš besede upisane v moje kosti. Sem pretrgan na dve ločeni polovici, v pasu mi miglja oranžen zrak. Jaz sem napev, ki ga zgovarjajo tvoje ustnice na krogli mojih oči, norita v ležajih. Sem napev, ki ga poješ, ko greš proti meni, sem jaz tvoj napev, ki prši ven skoz kožo. Sem napev, ki ga poješ, sem napev. Meni tam, kjer me vidiš, sem telo, ki se širi in krči, pod ukazi tvojega pitja iz zemlje. Približuje stisnjen krik, ki plapola med zobi. Ko pojem skoz tvoja usta, 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 skoz tvoja usta. Pojem skoz tvoja usta.
Yeah, first time I heard that it was live, and she was just playing it for me in a train station. I just have amazing memories of that. Beautiful music, beautiful music. Silva Morriston. She has a channel on YouTube and a lot of really beautiful music there. So there we are. We need $140 so that we can add a $500 challenge grant. And we have more after that. So, greetings, Bill. I'm using your money as a challenge grant. So we're $140 away from $500, then I will add it and double it. So Bill is the one who gave us the $500 that I'm using for the challenge grant to basically prod you to give, because that's what we do here. And if you get something from what I do, you know, show it. If you've already done it, well, thanks. And let's see. Okay, any questions, any thoughts? Go ahead and ask. Let me see if there's anything. I have had a couple of people say hello, or at least show me something over on. I don't know if Facebook. It's hard for me to tell if Facebook is allowing questions. I haven't seen them. So that is say comments. I'm getting a couple little hearts over there, you know. Oh, we like you, thank you, which is nice. But if you're on Facebook, there is a GoFundMe link. If you go to my main page, you will see something there. Tap on it, go find the GoFundMe page, and give. I'll probably also make a list, something that I will put on there. Spectre. Yeah, I can understand why you would say that. It's certainly a modern piece of music. Although, whenever I hear any of her work, I immediately think Czech Republic. And Czech Republic is a pretty obscure country as far as most people's awareness of their music. And it has some of my favorite music in almost all categories. Like, I like their rock. Of all the people, they have some very interesting influences. There are probably more bands with influenced by a combination of Czech folk music and Frank Zappa. Go figure. But Richard wanted to hear the Georgian Nuns, whom I will play in a bit. It's a 5-minute piece, so I'll give us a bit of a break. I might play something shorter before that. I got something pretty short here. But again, if you like, I wish I was doing this for Czech music. I could, but we're not doing a Czech thing. We're doing a Georgian thing. We got to bring my stuff here. And again, the reason for this emergency thing, thought I was done. We had over $12,000. I felt like, great. I was going to come on one more time and just see if I could raise a little bit of money for some food along the way. But then this thing came up, and what it was that the company, Linden Transport, told me that to get my container, I can't even say it. I'm so like, container from Alaska down to Seattle would cost more at $7,500 more than the whole trip from Seattle to Poti across 2 oceans and 12 time zones. What can I do? Like I said, I had sticker shock just looking for a place to spend the night in Juneau for 6 hours before I took the ferry. Oh, I see a little red dot. Let's see what this means. Matching program. Okay. Okay, Richard is telling me he's got the next bit of matching stuff, and if we don't do it today, we will do it tomorrow. He said he created a picture for Access Hollywood, and he offers the art online through his site. I typically sell a copy once or twice a year. This one was a large print, whereby I received a bit more than 1,000. So basically, he's willing to take the money he just made for his art, and that's going to be the next matching grant of $1,000. But first, let's finish up this $500 matching grant. Then we will go on to that one. I don't want to apply the two together because that would be cheating. I need as much money as possible. I have to get $6,000 more before I'm done. So you're going to get really, really, really tired of me, but that's okay. I am willing to be obnoxious because here's the point. The minute I turn this off, there'll be a couple of people saying, oh yeah, maybe I should do that now. But what I've learned from when I used to work at KH&S in Haines, Alaska, is the minute you stop asking, people stop giving. It's psychology. When you hear me, you say, oh yeah, I should really help Bern. He's suffering, and he is. I'm in good humor, but at the same time, you know what I would love? I would love if I just had the $6,000 right now, and I would go to bed. And I'm going to keep staying up. I'll be up at least another hour after the top of the hour, because this is really important to me. The thing about this is that having gotten to $12,000, It means that I can't turn back. I've already got I have literally everything for the trip bought already. I have a few hotel rooms. I've contacted all my friends. More importantly, I've got all the plane and the ferry tickets, and I've got train tickets, and everything's bought. So no matter what, I have to do this. And just think of, okay, I did have one friend who suggested, well, here were a couple of suggestions. One suggestion was, well, why don't you just do it in two parts? And the only thing about that is, I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to do it again and again. I want to just get this out of the way. So what I did, well, the other thought was, a friend of mine said, why don't you borrow $2,000 from 3 people that you feel have the money, and then pay them back within a year or two. And the truth of the matter is I would do that in a heartbeat. I did not want to come back on and do that because I know I'm getting obnoxious, and I can sense it occasionally. But yes, can't get tired of your music. That's good, and that's what we try to do. Okay, someone has gotten in touch with me. My friend Greg just wrote to me. Yeah, but you know, from my side, it's like, you know, you don't want to just keep beating at people. And yes, I have to play music because, you know, I don't want to bore you. So one of the things I've done is, because I realize, okay, I've got a bunch of other stuff there that I need to think about, and I'm going to have a garage sale on my last day there. So what I'm doing, you know, I had 3 pieces of 100-year-old furniture, and I'm just sitting there saying to them, for one of them, the biggest one, which is the best one, is this long, you know, almost about 5-foot long chest of drawers that's actually a table, the desk table, with a beautiful old mirror on it. This is about 125 years old or more. Maybe it goes back to the late 19th century. I would love to keep it, but I can't. I don't have the room for that one here. So I'm going to sell that in Alaska. But then I was going to bring 2 more chest of drawers here. And then I thought to myself, I can't. You know, I need to jettison everything that weighs anything that I don't need. So I'm getting rid of that. I'm getting rid of my television there, which I was going to, because I could bring it. It would be a wonderful thing for an alternative screen for working on this stuff, because right now I'm just using little computer monitors. But no, I can't do it. I just have to, you know, I'm getting rid of there's another thing I realized that I have is a beautiful, like, oak chest. I've got 2 of them actually. And it's just like, oh, I don't want to give these up. But if I have to, I do. The thing is, I'm just thinking, what if this goes over 12,000 pounds? So it's just sacrifice as much as possible. All the tools, they weigh too much, gone. I have a big hand truck. I was going to leave that there anyway. I've got various lamps that I was going to retool and get rid of them. I've got, yeah, I mean, just basically, there's a bed frame, gone. All of that's just being sold. So fortunately, hopefully I can make some money. I'm going to try to ask for like about 500 for the really antique pieces of the one particular beautiful one. But, you know, as much as I love them, I just can't, you know, you can only do so much. And so I will be slaughtering off stuff in Alaska. Fortunately, if you say a few magic words when you have a garage sale, people will come. Those magic words are tools. Tools drive men to garage sales. They come and they go like, really? You got tools? There's like an addiction, especially in Alaska. Because unlike, say, here, every guy is working on something. whether it's fences or building their own house or something. And I've got some really serious hammers and other stuff. So I will get rid of at least one of those. I really like these big steel American hammers. They just, the ones made in other countries just don't do it. And then, just so much stuff I've got. And one of the things I have to do, I've already made this list. One of the things I have to do is think in my mind, what have I got? Because I've got to try to keep it below 12,000. If it goes over, I can't remember, and I need to find out if they said it's every additional 50 pounds is $100, or every $100 is 50. Every 50 pounds is $100, or 100 pounds is $50, whatever. But still, I'm thinking like, I don't know what the exact price is. And then they're going to weigh it again, and they may turn around. This is why I'm not asking for just 500 and whatever dollars, 5,000 whatever dollars. I'm asking for 6,000, because who knows? Who knows? I may have to turn around and just kind of bleed on them. Take all the money that I made from the garage sale and just turn around and give it to them. It's just like, and yeah, why am I doing this? Why am I bringing this stuff here? And I think about that question a lot, but I'm also convinced I should. So what do we got here? Professor Luigi, do you think that culture will develop as quickly as it has in the 20th century? Will new things slow down or have? Well, I think what we've done is we've arrived at a point where official culture almost doesn't matter much anymore. The ability of AI stuff to, for instance, I think the whole illustration industry is just going to disappear, because you can literally just say, give me something in the style of, I don't know, Robert Crumb meets Frank Frazetta as an illustration to Madonna singing in a post-apocalyptic setting. Bam. And what I've noticed is the only style these people seem to know who program this stuff is commercial illustration. That is to say, everything. If I say, give me this picture of this person in the style of Botticelli, they don't give me Botticelli, really. They give me a commercialized version of Botticelli. So I think we're going to see more of that kind of stuff. I think AI is going to eat up a lot of stuff, which is why I emphasize texture. AI doesn't know what to do with texture. It gives you smooth, clean images. But at a certain point, that's just like, ugh, I think big culture is going to die more and more. It's going to be, I think Taylor Swift will be the last of these kind of mega stars. Because when I look at all the other younger ones below, yeah, they get people coming to their concerts, but it's not the same thing. It's like she's kind of the end of the line that maybe started with Frank Sinatra and Elvis Presley, where people were going, and screaming. And why is that happening? Well, I've got a video coming up about that too, actually. They're almost done. Let's see. I have a 1950s angle grinder. It still works. Unnerving to hold it. Aluminum handle. Yeah. That would sell really quickly here. Any tools. Oh, the other words is I've got a flat screen television. I'll get a few $100s for that, a couple hundred maybe. I've got and furniture, real furniture. The thing that's killing me about not bringing the furniture is when you look at the furniture that I would replace it with, it's just junk. I mean, new furniture is not even made out of wood. It's made out of simulated wood. So, but there comes a time when one has to sacrifice. And this is that time for me. So a lot of stuff will be sacrificed, or some of it will probably be thrown away, old clothes and stuff. Anything I don't need is not coming. So fortunately, I've been here long enough that, I have tools. I have a saw. I have kitchen appliances and such. And it'll make me ask, how many plates should I keep? Do I need more plates? And I will go through them and say, let's get rid of some of these. And I've got a really nice set that my mother had. She had two. I sold one set for $350 because it was this Wedgwood set. But yeah, that's life. Okay. I'm going to play another piece of music here. Let's play. Let's play Fats Domino. I wanted to hear him. Fats Domino makes me feel good. Classic bit of New Orleans rhythm and blues. Fats Domino. Remember, we're trying to get to $6,000. We've got 360. If we get another 140, I'm going to put in the other 500 challenge grant. Then we'll start working on the next one. So let's do that soon, please.
You made me cry when you said goodbye. Ain't that a shame? My tears feel like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. You broke my heart when you said we'll part. Ain't that a shame? My tears feel like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. Oh well, goodbye. Although I'll cry, ain't that a shame? My tears feel like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. You made me cry when you said goodbye. Ain't that a shame? My tears feel like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame. Oh well, goodbye. Although I'll cry, ain't that a shame? My tears feel like rain. Ain't that a shame? You're the one to blame.
Yeah, Professor Luigi here is saying you can hear the New Orleans in every way in which they swing the notes. Yeah, New Orleans is one of those really special places in American music culture, and it has its own thing, and still does in many ways. It's one of the few places that hasn't been gutted by the big commercial thing that turns everything into mono product. Yeah. New Orleans. Love it. Okay, so there we are. We got a few people watching. We are here trying to emergency fundraising because I got the sticker shock that the actual price, I thought it was $2,000, but the actual price of the barge coming down from Haines, Alaska to Seattle is more than the cost of the actual ship that's going to take freighter going from Seattle to Georgia across 2 oceans and 12 time zones. Incredible. So it's going to be like $7,500. So I am short by about $6,000 because, like I say, I'm afraid of how much they're going to charge me more for everything. So I just need to cover my bets. So, but we have a challenge grant, $500. We have $360 right now. If you can help us get to $500 ASAPly, then we will suddenly have $1,000, and then we can start working on the next challenge grant. So help. And I really appreciate. So far we've had, what was it? I need to write, let me go up there and write some names down here. So we have Niels coming back again. And let me switch the actual camera over to the other one, just because I need to write the names down. The names are the most important part. Money comes and goes, but people's gratitude is worth it. So Niels was 15, and then the Chambers were 300, and yeah. Okay, so there you are. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is when I get my stuff, because I am going to get it, and the money will come. When I get my stuff, okay, did you intentionally dodge my question about Wayne White? I didn't see it. Wayne White, Spooky Dark, Wayne White. Are you familiar with Wayne White? He's an artist and puppeteer. Didn't a lot of work with Pee Wee Herman. Okay. You know what? The answer is no. I don't know him. And which isn't surprising because I major in studying European puppetry. Although I know quite a few names in American puppetry, I certainly have done my research the way I have on European puppetry. And such is life. Just don't, can't know everything. I had someone else wrote me a puppet question, and they were like shocked that I didn't know this one puppet animation film. And the truth is, I don't know everything. I don't know how to confess this. But I do know I need to get $6,000, and I do know we're getting close. And if we can just get that next $140, then I can say we only need 5,000. And you got me. Okay, so the second hour is going here. But you know what I did? I didn't have any more time left on StreamYard, so I signed up. But I didn't have the money for the year, so I'm just doing it month by month, and I'll do it for a couple months because I got to keep doing this until I'm doing it. So yeah, so what I'm doing right now is I'm running this on Georgian Crossroads, which is getting very little in the way of hits. And I'm running this on Facebook, which has gotten a few more views, but it's hard to tell on Facebook because of the nature of Facebook and the way they do things. So yeah, it's hard to know if there's any, how many. I don't see. It's new to me. This is my first time live streaming on Facebook, so it's hard to know how many people have stopped and watched. I'll probably know later, but let me update GoFundMe. Oh, thank you, Zank. So Iskander, otherwise known by his Zappa name, just threw in $25. So let's go on the big board and go check that out. Oh, what's that? No, burn, not that one. This one. Okay. All right. So Iskander. So let's see, Iskander. You were there in the beginning. That's 25. You get Iskander. You officially get. Did I already send you like 50 Georgian music files? I think I did. If not, I will. I'm going to write this down just in case I need to send more. I know that right there I do, but I've had so many names, and there's some that are covered up here. Okay, well, let's write that down. So we have $385, which means $115, and the next 500 will kick in. We'll have 500 plus another 500. That's $1,000. $115. That's another thing. It's like, yeah, it sounds like a lot when you just say, oh, I need $6,000. But is it in today's money? Not really. It's just like, I wish it was. If this was 1980 again, which it isn't, that would feel like a lot more money. And it's weird when I think about things that I bought in 81 or 82 in New York City, and then I put them against how much they're worth now. I'm like, wow, that's worth so much. I suppose I shouldn't be shocked by the rise in price of the barge amount, because it was 27 years ago. So it's just like, okay, I'm kind of dense on that level. Let's go back to Burn FaceTime. Here I am, waiting and getting ready to play some more music. This is for Richard, who has the Next Challenge grant behind this one. So let's get this one out, then we can start working on the big one. This is NPR school, public television, public radio school of fundraising. He wanted to hear the Georgian nuns. I played this once before, but I've had other people say, play it again. So I'm going to. This is 5 minutes long. It's this beautiful song that just keeps repeating by these rather beautiful nuns. And we're going to play that. While we're doing it, you can go to PayPal or GoFundMe and pass on the money. Let's get that $115 so we get 500. So then it's like we're playing a game. Okay. Very beautiful, haunting music there. I did make a music file out of that one. And yeah, so $115, and we've got to 500. Not bad, not bad. And we're starting the third hour of my being here. And I think I'll stop at the end of this hour because it'll be 1 in the morning. I could probably go on, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. And I've got to come on. I'm going to do this again tomorrow night. My night, your morning, your afternoon, depending on where you are, your early evening. And yeah. Root beer, the weird thing you can't find here in Georgia except in one place. It's funny how it is when you move someplace. I have friends, and I've had people come here and they say, "Oh, I'm just going to eat Georgian food." And that lasts for a little while. And then eventually what happens is you're going like, "Oh, I really miss," and then fill in the blank, you know, good peanut butter, you know, with stuff without sugar. You know, I really miss root beer stuff with sugar. I really miss T-bone steaks. Believe it or not, they just don't cut them that way here. Yeah, there isn't a real butcher culture here in Georgia. So it's improved since I first got here. You go into a place, I remember one of the experiences I had that was, I was with my friend. We went into this place at the bazaar, meat's just hanging around. But I saw this guy had in his case, he had a leg of lamb. It was a small piece. It wasn't like a big leg. And I said, you know, I'd like that. And so before I could do anything, he takes it. He only had one arm. And he puts it down on this old log that had probably never been cleaned. I mean, you know, all this, you know, endless meat being chopped on there. And it was in such a condition, there was no way to clean it. And he just immediately chops it with an axe just randomly. And I'm like, ah, and it was too late. And I said, okay, ada, which means no, that's enough. Because so many people here like meat that's cut in little pieces for like the shish kebab type stuff. So, but yeah, but there is a place not too far from me, literally a block and a half from me, that has T-bone steaks. It ain't America. They are Georgian cows. And one of the things you don't find here, well, there is actually a place that sells Australian beef. And I met this guy, Jeff, who lives here now. He gave me $100 for the last time we were on here. And he bought for 244 lari, about, I don't know, 70, close to that was like $90 for a pretty thick, very marbled piece of beef, because he hadn't had it. He'd been here for 2 years, never found it here before, and so he went and bought that. Because sometimes that's what happens is you start saying like I have a list of things I want to pick up while I'm there. Although now I'm sitting there saying like, oh, I can't buy too much stuff because I'm thinking all about the weight. Except the thing is, food doesn't really weigh much compared to iron tools or furniture or all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so a little bit of Georgian music. Just a reminder, if you get $50 or more, you will get Georgian music files. And to catch you up, I got serious sticker shock at the price of, it was the one thing that I left, but I just thought like, oh, it's going to be about $2,000. I'd asked everything else, but I had kind of left this behind. Didn't imagine that the actual price of the barge going down the coast from Alaska to Seattle was going to be $7,500. Didn't imagine any price like that. So, and I was just, when I first heard it, I was just, you know when you get bad news or you get shocked by something, you just like, okay. Well, what I did was I immediately started calling up the head of that department down in Seattle, as opposed to the people in Alaska I was talking to. And he confirmed it, and there was just nothing I could do about it. Although And here is an interesting thing. Maybe you are connected to a nonprofit organization. I might get a discount if I can find a nonprofit organization who will buy it for me and I give them the money. So think about that. I might mention this again. This is one possibility. Um, yeah, what do we got here? We need $115 to get to 6,000, to get to 500, and at 500 we will double it to 1,000 as soon as we get there. So let's do that as soon as possible, so we feel like we've done something today. Raising $1,000 in one sitting, that's good stuff. So it means I've got to do this 6 more days, which means I'm going to be here a lot. Although I'm going to come on at other times. Although weirdly enough, I have come on when it is evening in America, and I get more people, but less money. Whereas if I come on here when it's not evening in America, when it's morning or whatever, I get more money. I don't understand it. Right now there's 12 people watching or something, and yeah. So, but then I had this reaction. I spent about an hour being kind of concussed by that amount and just saying, "Oh no, what am I going to do?" And then I started thinking about it. I thought about people I could talk to, and I talked to several friends, some here, some in through Zoom. And I know there's more money out there, but I have to work for it, is the point. And one friend suggested, why don't you borrow $2,000 from 3 different people and say you'll pay them back by the end of, say, 2025. If you hear this and you say, yes, I would do that, Bern, just send me a message at reckoningmotions.com. If you want me to write that down, just say, Bern, could you write that down? Maybe the Americans aren't donating. Oh, no, plenty of Americans are donating. Who's not donating so much are people on Facebook. Like I say, I think Facebook turns us into digital ghosts, you know. The thing about this is, and what I really liked about doing this is meeting you, whether through the comments or when you come on. Speaking of which, does anyone want to come on and spend a half hour or 45 minutes with me talking? If you do, write down, yes, I would like to, and do that. And I will give you if you want to come on, I will flash up here the Reckoning Motions at Yahoo.com little logo, and you can copy it down, send me a message. I will send you the invite, and you can come on and we can talk. It's especially good if you have questions, but also if you've been on before, I don't mind you coming on again. And I don't mind meeting you in this sort of way. And if you're afraid to show your face, you can also come on without showing your face. So there, think about that. And yeah. No, Emma, we've had plenty of people donating from America. I see quite a few here right now. I also see people from Europe, and I would say Europe and America are my 2 main zones. There have been a few South Americans, one guy who's an American who lives in Japan. No one, I think maybe 1 or 2 Australians, but no one from Asia, actual Asians. So, but anyway, if you want to come on, let me know. Or if you have a question, write it down here. I am watching on the anadromist here. I'm also keeping an eye on the Georgian Crossroads channel. And what this is telling me is I don't need to go live on the Georgian Crossroads channel next time because, and I'll think of another way to do this, because essentially people aren't looking for me to go live there. I don't have the same relationship on that channel that I do with everyone else on the anadromist channel. But anyway, after kind of getting concussed by the new reality, I then started laughing to myself because I said, I think this is God. Why? Because I've already collected over $12,000, which means, what am I going to do? Just take a really nice vacation? No. That'd be great, but no. I need to find a way to, I have to go to Alaska and get this stuff. There's just no two ways about it. I already have the plane tickets. I already have, hotels, the $200 a night hotel in Juneau. Don't talk to me about that. I will be sleeping on someone's couch in Haines before I pay for any major. All the Airbnbs in Haines are like $250. Yeah. But no, I just laughed because I said, like, yeah, okay, this was a way to get me to do this. Because it was the one thing I didn't call because I was pretty confident of the price. And now I feel really foolish, but at the same time, I feel like, okay, well, it's going to get done one way or another. So will you help us get to that final thing? $115. And then we can throw in that other 500, and we got 1,000 for the night. And you can feel proud of yourself, even if you only give $5. So, PayPal, the link is below in the description. So is the GoFundMe. You may be listening to this through Facebook. GoFundMe, go there. And let's find another piece of music. And if you want to come on, just write, Vern, I'd like to come on and talk with you. And that would be great. Let's switch gears. Let's play one of my favorite songs by Joe Ely, great country rock performer from Lubbock, Texas. And he's doing a great song called Boxcars. The only thing I don't like about this version of Boxcars is there's a second part to it that's on the album that's just absolutely amazing. And but unfortunately it's not here. It's just the basic guts of the song. But let's listen to that and we'll be back. And if you want to come on, let me know.
It's on Legal Mine Road. Butch Hancock, this one called Boxcars. To the banker this month. Now I got no more money to spend. She smiled when she saw me coming through that door. When I left, she said, come back again. I watched them lonesome boxcar wheels turning down the tracks out of town. And it's on that lonesome railroad track I'm gonna lay my burden down. I was raised on a farm the first years of my life. Life was pretty good, they say. And I'll probably live to be some ripe old age. The devil just stay out of my way. This world can live on money and time, but it sure can't take my soul. I'm going down to the railroad tracks, watch them lonesome boxcars roll. There's some big old Buicks by the Baptist church, Cadillacs at the Church of Christ. I parked my camel by an old haystack. I'll be looking for that needle all night. There ain't gonna be no radio tires turning down the streets of gold. And I'm going down to the railroad tracks, watch them lonesome boxcars roll. Whistle on a fast freight train, beating out a beautiful tune. Have you ever seen the cold blue railroad tracks shining by the light of the moon? Have you ever felt the locomotive shake the ground? I know you don't have to be told. Why, I'm going down to the railroad tracks, watch them lonesome boxcars roll. tracks, watching lonesome boxcars roll.
Look for the studio version of that song on YouTube. And it continues from there. And it sounds like a train coming through. And it has the most incredibly haunting but intense steel guitar duet with an electric guitar. It's just like, and I love Ponty Bone is the accordion player there, and I believe one of his daughters is one of the Dixie Chicks. But that has such a great mixture of America. It's got Cajun influence. It's got, you know, the kind of West Texas influence, which also has a lot of Spanish in it. It's no, there's a whole group of guys from the Lubbock area, including Joe Ely, Butch Hancock, who wrote that song. And there's a great version that he does of that I was going to play, but it's about 8 minutes long. And I thought, yeah, if I was just doing music, I would. And then Jimmy Dale Gilmore is also from Lubbock, and they all sang together in a group called the Flatlanders, which I also recommend. And Texas is one of the best places for music in America. So says I. But then again, there's others. Actually, I was thinking of doing the top 10 music cities in America, or music areas in America. And of course, New Orleans would be way up there. But then again, so would New York, Los Angeles. Seattle kind of entered it. What do you think of the studio recording only music versus music that is being played live as jazz or folk? Well, here's the thing. Most live music today is played through amplification. And if you go to a big concert, they treat that stuff as much as if they were in the studios. So, so I, you know, if it's a good recording, like this recording, I mean, they played it very similar to the way it's played on the recording, minus the really great coda at the end. But if it's a great to me, the best recordings are often not where each person is sitting in a room, but the ones when they're all present in the room playing. It's the older style of recording. But yeah, but no, I really love live music too. Although sometimes the live music sounds like a pale imitation of the studio. That's not good. Well, we got a guy named Mark Tatum. Mark's a new one to me. He's from Colorado, and evidently lurking around the channel. You never know who you're going to find here. But I want to thank Mark. He threw in $22. See what I mean? You don't have to throw in lots of money, although lots of money helps. But let's put that up there. We've got now, Mark has given us $22. We now have $407. $93 is all we need to get that $500 kicking in. So do you want to help with that? You can do it by doing it. So let's get back to the main camera. So there you go. We are we're getting there, but push. So yeah, I got to be obnoxious for a little while longer. And you know, someone said you just have to do this all the time. No, I'll only do this until I'm done. So and you pick up people. I'm sure there are people. That's why I'm staying up a little longer, you know. And if I felt like things were going good, I'd just keep staying up, because right now, well, the truth is, I woke up at, what was it, like 6:30 this morning. Couldn't get back to bed because all this stuff's on my mind. So I want to sleep. Help me sleep. Put me out of my misery. I was doing so good when I thought that, you know, the $12,000 would cover it, and now I learned that I need another $6,000 to get my, you know, to get the container down the 1,000 miles, 1,600 kilometers down the coast to Seattle. I had no idea it would cost that much. And, but like I say, but then there's a part of me that says, well, I'm kind of glad that I found that out later, because it's forcing me to get this done. And there's just nothing else I can do right now but to get it done. I have to leave here March 6th, but more importantly, I have to get the money to, I've got to pay people in Alaska, or it's actually Seattle, as soon as I can, because the other company can't. They have to talk to them and arrange it and come up with the whole price. It's just money. Why do we need it? But then again, why did I move literally halfway across the world from Alaska to Georgia? 12 time zones, 13 right now, but that changes with the daylight saving time. And what's interesting about that is Georgia doesn't do daylight saving time. So sometimes we're 12 hours off from Alaska, other times we're 13. I recommend we stop daylight saving time. Does anyone else have an amen to that? Because I think it's outlived its usefulness. I don't mind if it's a little darker in the summer. I mean, who wants all the light? Some people do, but I don't. I don't care. So, yeah. Any music questions? Any movie questions? Any other thoughts out there? Anyone want to come aboard and talk with me live online? Feel free to. So, let me renew a couple things here to see if any money's coming in from anywhere else. No, that GoFundMe is kind of quiet. A couple people said they liked me on Facebook. Meanwhile, I'm here with you. Let's see. If I weren't at work, yes. Well, I'm at work. Yes, if you were to work, you would come on. That's good to know. Yeah, I suppose there are people who are working while they're watching. It's kind of sneaking in, listening a little bit to me, like looking at their phone, sneaking a view or something. I am getting tired. So a half hour more of this and I will sleep. But let's get that $93 so we can make it an even 1,000 at least tonight. Do that for me, will you? Can you? Okay, let's look for another piece of music here. Joe Ely. Yes. Okay. You got a choice. More Georgian music. A little bit of country blues with Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, or I've got an Italian piece of neo-tarantismo, which is really beautiful, that I've played before, but I really love it. So, or I've got Jordi Savall doing a La Folia, which would be really nice. I'm doing it live. So what kind of music do you want? Let me know. I'm gonna, as soon as first person to give me so you got Georgian music, blues, or okay, what do we got here? Italiano. Okay, we're going for it. So this is a group Salvador Alessio with Luntana doing this. I love this piece, and this is the style is neo-tarantismo, which means the tarantulas, tarantellas. It's all kind of connected. But this is just beautiful. And the dancer is a young woman named Laura Bacadamo. I think that's how her name is, or Bacadamo, but I think it's Bacadamo. And we'll listen to that. We'll be back. PayPal, GoFundMe. We need $93 more to have that other $500 kick in. Help us today. Meanwhile, listen to this beautiful music. I love it when a piece of music can kind of hit both the joy but depth at the same time. So it's not one of the things I hate about certain kinds of music, certain kinds of earworms do this, where they get in and they really have a hook, but they don't have any depth to them. This is they figured this out in commercials on television advertisements, how to make something that sticks in your head without having any depth. But this song is just as a tune and the way it's performed, to me, it's like the tune has depth. It's this old sounding tune. I don't know if it's based on it's based on a folk song from somewhere, but it's got this joy to it. Because joy isn't the same thing as this kind of like smiley faced happiness. Joy is deep. Joy is satisfying. And I love that piece. Oh, look, I see a little red dot. Let's see what that's doing. Okay. Oh, there you go. So Megan sent us $10. Every bit helps. Thanks again, Megan. Megan's been here more than once, so she's just basically telling all of you, you should continue to help me, even with little amounts. And especially if you're new, if you're one of, I've had maybe 110 people contributing, separate people, but I know there are plenty more people who watch the channel. And if you're one of those, and if you're watching this at a later date, you should really think about giving. But let me go write that up. So we now have $417. As soon as we get to $500, the amount will double because we have another gift from Bill Preston, and we'll put that in at that moment. So, let me write Megan on there. Megan. Okay. Thanks. Take it all. Okay. So, that's how it's done. Okay. We only have 20 minutes left to go. Someone please, before it ends. Otherwise, I'll just have to keep staying here until I get there. We now have $417. I am not going to leave until we get to the $500. I'm just going to say that right now. Much as I am tired enough to go to bed, I have to do it because this is what I'm doing, and then we'll go with the next one tomorrow to try to double $1,000. So, and yeah, I think I said I'm coming on tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the evening my time. I might come on earlier, just start it no matter what, because it only comes the longer I spend, the way it goes. All right, so any more questions out there? Thoughts, comments? Anyone want to say hello? Anyone want to say, hey, Bern? Hi, Megan. Glad to have you aboard. She's actually in Italy. I think she liked the Italian music I just played. Yeah, any kind of music. Okay, that. I'm deleting everything once we play it. That way I know how much is left. Oh, I got some good music left. I've got, I'm not quite dead yet, so I'm going to go until I get the 500. So if you would like me to go to bed, you can put me out of my misery by giving us, what is the amount? It was 93. It's now 83. So if you give me $83, we can wrap this up at the top of the hour. You want to do that? Would you like me to just stay up all night? It's up to you. It's up to me. And I'm choosing, I've got to get that amount. It's like, it's work. It's a form of work, begging. I often think of that when I see people on the streets here or anywhere. Well, in America, when you see people on the streets, you really got to wonder what they're doing there. That is to say, really, did you really want to be here? Whereas I see people on the streets, one of the things that gets me here in Georgia is you see old women on the streets begging. But here's the thing about them. I think most of them have a place to go. They're just coming down to make a little extra money. And I don't know how any of that works, but I've befriended a couple of them. You know, I'm very careful when I give money as I'm walking down the street. I don't give to everyone, and especially in my neighborhood. Um, I often will choose one person in an area to give to, because once I give someone in the local area money, I feel I have to continue giving it to them and not to just give out random bits here and there because I'm forming a relationship with them. I'm not simply giving them money. I want them to know someone cares about them. And it's amazing. There was one woman just so forlorn looking, and I would give her money. Sometimes she wouldn't even see me. Her head was down. She's probably, I don't know, about 65 years old or whatever. She could have been younger than me. And sometimes, you know, the people here have lived a hard life, and I'll look at them and I go like, why is it I'm 68 and they're 58 and they look older than me? Because it's the way you live. Also, smoking and stuff like that takes a lot out of you. But this one woman, I would just go by. I don't see her anymore. She had real bad problems with one of her legs. And I'm not sure what it was, but could have been diabetes, could have been any number of things, circulation problems. But I would give her money, and sometimes I'd drop it. She wouldn't look at me. But eventually, she started to see me coming up the stairs, and she just had the most pained expression on her face. But suddenly, when she saw me, she would just start smiling, and she was so grateful. And I did this, you know, many times. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying it's that kind of commitment to someone. So I can't divide that kind of thing up. You know, like if there's 4 or 5 people in an area who are all asking for money, especially if it's a place I'm going to be walking regularly, I can't simply give money to all of them. I would rather help one. I'd rather one person know that someone is watching them and caring for them, as long as it lasts. So I've got one person in this area where I live that I do that. If I'm far enough away, then I can give again. If I see someone and I don't think I'll see them again, it doesn't matter. I can give to them. But if it's someone in an area where I'm going to walk regularly, then I really have to think about it. So anyway, and you should think about it. If I am someone whose work you have appreciated, then you should give. 83 more dollars, and we're at 500, and then we can add 500, and we have $1,000 for the evening, and I can go to bed. So do it like that. What else? There's much more to say. St. Augustine says to give all we can, but prioritize people we have relationships with. I would say the problem with giving all you can be described in many different ways. You have to watch out that you don't become them and be one more person asking for money. And I would say this is especially true in the big cities on the West Coast in America, where you have this terrifying problem of homelessness. I mean, it's in New York City too, but really California and Oregon and Seattle have developed this problem the worst. The reason California is such a problem is because the weather is nice. So let's see. Oh, questions? Anyone want to say hello? Still got people watching. I'm still here, and I just have to keep pushing it. Okay. So let's see, what else can I want to talk about something. So someone come up with a question. Sorry to hear about the money situation, but you got blank so far. You got this so far. So stay strong. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is at this point, I'm impervious to feeling shame about asking for money. And I just absolutely refuse to give up. And I think sometimes that's how life is. There are other times when you have to give up. You know, people will often say things like, let go, you just have to let go. Other times people will say, hold on, you got to hold on. I would say in Western society, more people say let go these days than hold on. I think hold on is the better position, but there are times when you have to let go. And but hold on to let go is like you can't keep thinking about this relationship. It's not good for you. To which, to me, with relationships, hold on, because we all need each other. What is a topic you haven't talked about a bit that you'd like to? Oh, there's all sorts of topics. I mean, I can go off and off. If you just mention something, I can go off for days, which is my curse. So let me think about that for a moment. What haven't I talked about that I'd like to talk about? Well, I have had some thoughts lately. I've been reading a very interesting book by Charles Williams called The Beauty of Reason, or is it The Reason of Beauty? One of those two. Charles Williams was one of the Inklings and a friend of C.S. Lewis. He died at around 1945, 46. And C.S. Lewis really mourned his death, but was really glad of him. Williams had a pretty big influence on C.S. Lewis, much less so on J.R.R. Tolkien, and much less so of. He had a bit of an influence on Owen Barfield, although I suspect Owen Barfield had more of an influence on him. But in the book, I see the H.P. Lovecraft question. I will get to it in a moment. In the book, he has a very interesting thing. I just read this. Hold on a minute. Now, I just got to this thing. There was one chapter in here that was a little tough to get through, but now I'm really cooking, because sometimes there are chapters that don't. Anyway, he was talking about, for instance, there's the famous line about truth is beauty and beauty truth. And he's asking, what is the relationship between reason and beauty? Sometimes it seems like there is none, and a thing is just beautiful, a person is beautiful, a situation, a landscape is beautiful. Other times, it seems like they are completely connected. And allow me to put on my spectacles. Yeah. You asked me to talk about something. And he says, he was talking about Shakespeare and Milton. This is a great book of classical learning, which I recommend for everyone. You should read older books. This is a book from probably the 1930s. Yeah, 1933. You should read books from other period. If you are only reading contemporary books, no, you really need to go back and read books. And as in this book, it's not a fictional piece. We often think somehow knowledge today supersedes knowledge from the past, which to me is pure bullshit. It doesn't ever. Yeah, there are new issues and stuff, but in fact, many of these things were dealt with in different kinds of ways in the past. And C.S. Lewis, in his great essay on the reading of old books, really makes this clear. And he says, the books of the future would be great as a corrective to who we are as well, but we can't get at them yet. But he talks about, he says in the past, let's see, he talks about poetry, the beauty of poetry. He says in the past, it has done chiefly two things, the beauty of poetry. It says, and by the two imaginations of Milton and Shakespeare, it has, in the one, imagined that madness of discourse as subordinated to reason. So this beauty, this madness is subordinated to reason. And then he says, and a reason which at the same time is an absolute. Oh, he says, it has imagined a sublime reason in control of the universe, a reason which is at the same time absolute power. And this controlling truth and beauty, it has imagined in relationship to the contending and contradicting contradicting states of divided souls. But in the other, it has followed the madness of discourse itself, abandoning, at least explicitly, the divine reason, tracing the conflict deeper and deeper until, in some sense, it has imagined Earth under the influence of the operation of falsehood, ravening upon itself, eating itself. It has traced the path of destruction, and that would be Milton's Satan. So it's a fascinating thing. He says in one place you have Shakespeare describing the madness of reason, and but in the other case you have Milton's depiction of it through the character of Satan, and he's not wrong at all. He's essentially saying that the world we're going into is the madness of reason, which corrupts beauty by allowing reason to go into everything. So, when you think about something like AI, what is that? That's the madness of reason. The reason is in all those people sitting at computers figuring this stuff out. But why? They don't know. Just something that if we can do it, you might as well, which is insanity. So let's see. What else have we got here? Okay. Thoughts on Lovecraft? I'll get there in a moment. I've driven all over the U.S. Homelessness has exploded over the last decade. Denver is horrible and is starting to look like San Francisco. Kensington Square in Philadelphia is especially horrible. Yeah, this is interesting. Here's one thing I was thinking about homelessness, though, and a lot of people don't seem to understand the roots of it. When I grew up, I was born in 1955. I was kind of a conscious young kid by 1965. And I remember when the hippies appeared in the 65, 66, 67, I really started seeing them. They never existed before, not these weird creatures. And then at the same time, they started taking on the role of being homeless. They arrived in San Francisco, and I remember this as a kid, taking over everything. They weren't taking over San Francisco. There were in San Francisco what we used to call bums, or what we used to call what was it? Not bums, but vagrants, alcoholics, things like that. But I mean, by today's standards, now we're talking before the hippies, by today's standards, hardly noticeable. You just knew if you got to certain parts of town, you'd see a few extra people on the street and such. But after the hippie age, suddenly it became, I don't want to say fashionable, but suddenly more people were living on the streets. It starts in San Francisco and starts to spread wherever the hippie fungus takes over, the brain fungus. For instance, after World War II, you didn't see homeless World War II veterans on the street that much. I'm sure there were a few, but it was not a big deal. But literally, homelessness, in fact, that was in the 70s was when they changed it from being a beggar, from being a bum, to being homeless. Homeless, again, is one of these nicer words. It's a word made to make you feel a bit guilty because they don't have a home, you do. But people were choosing to live on the streets. And that's also when the big injection of drugs came into the scene. And when soldiers returned from Vietnam, they started living on the streets. Not all of them, obviously, but enough that it became noticeable. The trope of the homeless Vietnam vet on the street by the 1980s was everywhere. And also at the end of the 60s is the same time that they started opening up the mental institutions because people were like, in some sense, rightly saying, oh, we shouldn't lock people up. So where did they go? Out on the streets. So that's where the current problem really starts. But we kind of then adjusted to this new level of homelessness, but it's really taken off you're right, in the last 10 years. And here's the weird thing. The government, particularly in those places, which seems to be much more liberal government, seems to have no will to tackle the problem whatsoever. That is to say, that it's on the same lines as like I don't know, mass immigration or through the southern border. It's like for some reason people have lacked the will because somehow it's made to seem like, well, you know what it is it's made this, it makes us uncomfortable to deal with it, is really what it is. And it's kind of, it's just like, oh, what do you do with those people? You don't want to lock them up, do you? Well, you got to do something. And so let's see. I think it was Chesterton who basically said, everyone thinks a madman, yes, exactly, without reason, but anyone who has ever met a madman knows reason is all the madman has. Yeah. So, okay. Well, let me actually follow the H.P. Lovecraft question you just had. What's the deal with H.P. Lovecraft? I really like H.P. Lovecraft, but I don't like him because, for instance, I don't get moral precepts from H.P. Lovecraft as much as I get, in an odd way, a sort of moral horror, because he is an atheist very directly. He's also not a little bit of a racist. He is also phobic about everything in the true sense of the word. He's not like hatred of everything, but he's actually totally afraid of going out on the street and meeting people. So what's interesting about him, though, is that he writes these stories about he's made up this entire mythology. Now, it's not, he didn't simply make it up out of his head, because no one simply makes up anything out of their head. He's basing it upon certain older things that were made. So he's looking back. If you ever read his essay called Supernatural Horror in Literature, I think that's the name of it. It's a fascinating essay. It's probably around 50 pages long. But he goes through all of his influences, essentially. So Edgar Allan Poe, Lord Dunsany, M.R. James, the great ghost story writer from England. Robert Chambers is a very fascinating figure. Came up with this idea of the king in yellow, and he has these strange worlds, in a sense. He crafts his own symbolist based, and that's a very certain philosophical kind of the decadent symbolist ideology or mythology of the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. He's running behind on it, but essentially that's what he has created. And so he has these strange beings. He had a phobia about fish and octopi. He puts that into his monsters. So they have fish faces in some cases. They are octopoid. And he says often he'll just describe something as being nameless or shapeless or alien geometry and all these things. But he creates a world in which these elder gods that he's created, who come from beyond the stars and who have been here for millennia before humanity was even an evolutionary idea. He says they kind of look on us as very similar to the way H.G. Wells describes the Martians looking at us, as like we're no more important than ants. But he gets such a weird, what can I say? Kind of the French word is frisson, which is like a shudder or goose flesh or something, out of that. Especially the more stories of his you read, which I really like. I love his linking stories. I like his mythology as a mythology. There is no hope in it whatsoever. There's not one character who can be hopeful. What he's basically saying is, if there is no God, we are just these random nameless creatures afraid of discovering the truth that there are alien beings, gods we call them, who don't care about our existence at all and tend to look at us as food. And what I find fascinating about that is it is honest as a totally atheistic idea goes. If more atheists were that honest about it, there might be more Christians. Because once you realize that, you realize you don't have any hope. But nevertheless, our heart cries out for hope. And our heart doesn't cry out for hope for no reason at all. It's not simply that we're totally deluding ourselves. There are reasons for hope, but they don't come out of that kind of alien mythology. And in a sense, you could look at, if you interpreted all of human history that way, as just us being this fluke of nature who happened to, a fluke like Bach, or a fluke like Rembrandt, or a fluke like, I don't know, Dostoevsky, that we're all just these weird creatures who somehow invented this stuff and it has no meaning, then, I mean, at least H.P. Lovecraft is honest enough to admit that from his philosophy. And I find that really fascinating. Would I recommend anyone take him at his word? There have been people who thought, really, there are these alien beings and such. Then that tells you something about us, doesn't it? Okay, so, well, I was going to stop, but I haven't got the last $83. So I got to keep going because I need to get there. So if you can help, PayPal, GoFundMe, links below in the description section, use them. If you'd like to come aboard and talk a bit, I'm open to doing it. Like I said, I've got to do this until I get there. So want to help? Do help. And remember, when I get that $83, that's also, I will add another 500 to that total. So we will then have 1,000 for the evening, which isn't bad. So, and meanwhile, I've been writing to people and trying to, it's just, and I just, there is a part of me that wants to lose heart, but I'm not going to, it's just, I can't afford to. Because, like I said, I put in too much into this. But in a way, it's just like, that's life. Much rather put in too much and fail than not put in enough and coast. Don't you think so? Isn't that a better way to live? I mean, that's what Jordan Peterson means about picking up the biggest, heaviest burden you can and take it up the hill. But you know what? I bet he didn't imagine my library. So, any more thoughts? Good questions? What else have we got? Yeah. Good thoughts, good questions. I thought we had it. So let me check out GoFundMe, see if I can, it would be great if someone just gave me $83 over there. And, oh, Joseph Alford, back in the game with $50. Nice, nice. So let's write that on the board. We're so close. Don't you realize you can put me out of my misery? At this point, it's sudden death. As soon as I get to the $500, I'm going to bed. Actually, I can't go immediately to bed because the problem with going immediately to bed is my head is too wound up from doing this. So I have to spend at least half hour winding down, maybe longer. All right, so $50. We now have $467. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate that. And so we have $467, which means we only need, what do we only need? So $33? Okay, yeah, $33. $33. Someone just send it to me, put me out of my misery, and I can go to bed. And I'll add the 500 from Bill Preston. So are you ready to do that? Let me play a song. Give me a minute of, I've drank all my precious root beer, the rarest drink here. Let's play a little more Georgian music. This is a short piece, about 2 minutes long. And someone out there, think about those $33. They have your name on it. Links below.
Ba
short little solo tune on the panduri there. I want to get a panduri. I do have a guitar in Alaska that will be coming here that doesn't weigh very much. And that is one thing I have to do is get my weight down. And I don't mean this weight, although I should do that too. But when I go there and work on this stuff, I will be getting my weight down because I have a 5 days with the container to get everything into it packed correctly. And then it will go down the coast very expensively. And then it will be transferred to another ship, which will, I don't know how many ships it will take, hopefully one, but probably not, from Georgia, rather from Seattle, Washington, to the port of Poti on the Black Sea. And then it'll come, they'll bring it here. And at that point is when I'll deal with the customs stuff. And I hope they don't hit me too hard. So, and then it'll come to my door. And I won't have the shelves ready. But one thing I'm hoping, if I can get this done, I was hoping to paint my room to get that room ready for stuff to come. Okay, so I'm here for $33 more. It's 1:10 in the morning here. I would like to go to bed soon. Once I get that $33, I'm done. Or you can get more. It doesn't matter. Let me play this for you. This is just the beginning of this. This is I've been really studying automata, which is the plural of automaton. Although some people say automatons, which is fine, I suppose, but I like saying automata. And it's a Latin word. And it is, this is an automaton organ. It's over 200 years old. And you feed the tune by putting a little, it looks like a computer card. And yes, these automated instruments and little puppets that do these mechanical actions are the origin of the computer. And I mentioned this a little bit in one of the videos I did recently. But let's play a few minutes of this while somebody thinks, I know there's somebody out there who's saying, yeah, I'd like Vern to go to bed. Let me put in $33. And then there's someone else saying, hey, Vern, I got a lot more for you. Maybe that's you. And in fact, I'll be doing this tomorrow, and you can think overnight whether you want to help me.
So I'm standing next to a very little organ, and it actually works the same like the big organs we showed you before in this museum. And the organs like these, they work with a cardboard organ book, and this is actually a demonstration book, so I can show you very easily how it works. So every organ has a keyboard with pins. Without a book, the pins are standing up. So if I grind this organ, you hear this because the organ doesn't know what to play. And you hear every organ pipe at the same time. It doesn't sound very nice. But the cardboard organ book actually pushes the pins down. So if I start grinding now, we hear nothing. We hear only the bellow pumping some air. But as soon as there is a hole in the cardboard, a pin can come up again, and then air flows through some of the organ pipes. And that's why we can hear a nice melody with just a piece of cardboard. But since this is a demonstration book, we just can read along very easily with what we are going to hear. So first a short note, another short one, a longer one, a few shorter ones, etc. And that's how easy it can be to play a music instrument.
Is that why I'm always building?
I love that. I saw a man in France. I was at a small street festival, and there was a man playing. He had like all of these cards for that, and he put them in. They were longer. They were about like this, the stacks, and they would just run through this little street organ. But if you look at those dots, And that is essentially, you're looking at the origins of the computer there, because the computers used to have these little pieces of cardboard that you would run through them, the computer card, back in the day. I remember those as a kid. We always had to fill out our tests. So, like, make sure you fill in the hole completely. Yeah. And I've been working on this idea about automata that essentially certain kinds of puppets in ancient Egypt were these religious things that they used mechanical devices on. The Greeks secularized it, but essentially I think we're going back to the religious, not puppet, but the robot. And the AI and all of that stuff has this idea of the religious attached to it. So for those of you who are new, hey, Ups, glad to see you. I saw you talking with Paul. Glad to hear that. And yeah, you speak with a Greek accent. I think you're Greek. I'm sure you are. I've seen your name. Yeah, it's nice to have seen you talking. So just to catch everyone up with why I'm doing these emergency fundraisers, and they are emergency fundraisers, is that I got hit with the fact that I was wildly off with my estimate for the $2,000 for the container coming from Alaska to Seattle. How wildly off? They told me instead of $2,000, it was $7,500, which is pretty wildly off. And I was like, how did that happen? I mean, and basically that's more expensive than the rest of the trip from across 2 oceans, 12 time zones. That's more expensive than that. So, so what I need to do is make money. Now, what we're doing tonight is we've got $467. As soon as we get to $500, another 33 measly little dollars, you know, a nice dinner for someone, sacrifice your dinner. As soon as we get to that, we will then be doing adding another 500 that is a challenge, matching funds. So that means once we get to $500, 2 things will happen. It'll turn into $1,000. Good. That means we only have 5,000 to go. And I will go to sleep because it's past 1 in the morning now. And I do need to go to sleep. I am getting tired. And I am going to be doing this again tomorrow evening. So evening for me, whatever time for you. So, and the other thing is I have another $1,000 challenge grant from Richard Lund, who has graciously donated the profits from a photo he sold. And he sells these once or twice a year. And he is graciously donating what he made from that, which was about $1,000, to us. But he said it's as a matching fund. So we won't do that tonight, but we will do it tomorrow because I want another $2,000. And I'm going to try. I said I will be here at 10 tomorrow. I will probably be here an hour earlier than that as well, just because this is really important to me. Having already committed $12,000 to this, I can't stop now. I have to get the other $6,000 I need. So $33 away from making this 1,000, and I'm not going to bed until we get it. So if you would like to see me get some sleep and watch my health, you can donate now. but like I say, I am at this point, you know, I'm just going to do it. I have to do it. I can't stop until I get it. But I do have a serious time limit here, and that is I have got to tell the Alaskan people probably in about a week that I have I've got to tell the Alaskan people that I'm committing to doing this, because they have to bring a special international container up from Seattle, and it takes a week to get up there. So I'm leaving here on March 6th, so the clock is seriously ticking. So I know you're out there. Someday you'll be able to say, I helped Burn do this weird library thing in Alaska, in TBILISI, Georgia. And that's where we are. Let's play another short piece of music. If anyone has any questions or thoughts, leave them. I'm not going to invite anyone on. For the simple fact is, I'm really hoping this ends soon. I really do want to go to bed. And but I can't until I get the final amount. So we saw that. Let's watch this. This is Layla's sister Nino Nakaori singing this beautiful song called Matuba, and I just love this. Meanwhile, let's make that little red bell shine again.
გაზაფხულიყო მაშინა ახალად ყოდენიანი წვანის ქათიბით ყოხტავს თების კალათებით ყიანი ბექბუქში თოვლი დამდნარა მიწა გამხდარა წუნიანი წვანესი აღდება ფოთოლსა ხარი ირემირქიანი გალაღებულან ფრინველნი ისედაც ლაღიზნიანი დამყეფდა თავზე და აღარც რო კარგი მალაღებს აღარც რო ჯავრო ბავზე და აღარც რო კარგი მალაღებს აღარც რო ჯავრო ბავზე და სულ სამხდის მტერი ყავს მაძრობს ჯალათად მადგა კარზე და არა შანს ჩემი არწივი რომ მხარი დამკრას მხარზე და მოდი არწიო სადახარ შორით ვეგიცნობ ხმაზე და შენს მოსვას როცა კი ვიგრძნობ გამოვიცვლები ძამზე და ის ტოვებდე და მიწასა გადავსახლები ცაზე და ხან ფანდურ შავაჟ ყარუნებ ხან დავამღერე და ქარზე და ხან ფანდურ შავაჟ ყარუნებ ხან დავამღერებ ქარზე და დაინა დაინანა დაინანა 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 დაინა დაინანა დაინანა
I love that piece. Okay, well, thanks to Upcycle, $33, which now means, let me just get on the board here, it means several things. One is, it means we now have $500, which then kicks in the other $500, so we now have from Bill Preston. Thank you, Bill, very generous. And that gives us a cool $1,000, so I only need $5,000 more dollars, and we're done. It's work. Thank you so much. And I'm going to go to bed. And just a reminder, I have another challenge grant for $1,000 tomorrow. And I'm going to see what I can do you know, if there's someone who will lend me $2,000 or $3,000, but $2,000, $3,000, whatever, until the end of 2025, I'll try to get that. Just anything I can do. I have, like I say, I've got about a week to get this done, because the people in Georgia can't do anything until I'm committed with the money to the Alaskans. So crazy stuff, crazy stuff. But thank you so much out there for being with me. I really appreciate that. And we are essentially done. And thanks for being with me. I will now go to bed, and I will be back tomorrow because I have to. But I'm going to think overnight on. I was a little too freeform tonight. I'm going to think of something to do for tomorrow that'll make it interesting. And if anyone wants to come on board, then that is fine. Good night. Nakłam jest droebit.